this time, we'll call to order the regular City Council meeting for December 10th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa, let the roll call show everyone is present. And we'll look to approve the minutes of November 26, 2018.
I'll move the minutes. I'll second.
Discussion?
Councilmember Kurtzwell?
I'd like to start on page 6, please. It's regarding the closed session. I reviewed the tape, and I do not recall anyone saying that the closed session was being conducted pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act. In fact, there was no purpose given for the open meeting, for the closed meeting. What the mayor said was, I believe he said, and you could probably check this on the tape, is that I think we'd like to go into a closed session. The motion was made by Parisian, and if you watch the tape, it was seconded by Kennedy, not Kivel. You can see Kennedy's lips moving. So I would like to delete that information regarding the closed session because that was not stated. On page, the next page, page 7. It's in the first part of the text. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 lines down. She stated there was a police investigation by the South Lyon Police, comma, but due to an obvious, she said, obvious conflict of interest, the Oakland County Sheriff will be doing. That is false. That is not what she said. What she said was present tense. She said the Oakland County Sheriff is now pursuing. So please correct that. The Oakland County Sheriff is now pursuing a criminal investigation against Carl Richards. You can review the tape for that. Then as we go down, about a third of the way, she is asking council to allow the Board of Ethics as to what has been breached by council's ethics ordinance. Please insert the following. Kivel stated, so if the Oakland County, assuming it's the Special Investigation Unit, would be taking this from Oakland County Sheriffs, parentheses, Parisian nods in the affirmative, close the parentheses, okay, dot, 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 that means there's language in there that I'm not saying, but Glenn's more than willing to put it in. We're looking at a couple of months before they end up coming to any kind of conclusion. So then you are looking at another month from then, at least for the prosecutor's office to weigh in on whether or not they think this meets the threshold to take action on. Next, in the middle, she stated the City of South Lyon Police Department found no liability at all. I said liability. I didn't say breaking the law. Then I say, I didn't know all the details, but it seems like an individual in his private life having a private conversation. I said private conversation with a business owner. I didn't say someone, I said business owner, which blew up. Next. If you go to that next sentence, Kurzweil stated, in January 2016, she attended Trump's inauguration, and on the next day, she attended the Women's March in D.C. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Kivel.
I'd just like to make a comment that doing the minutes isn't supposed to be a verbatim transcript. This has really gotten to the point of being way over the top.
Move the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to the approval of the bills this evening.
I have a couple here, Dave.
Oh, Councilmember Kivel, sorry, I missed it.
Okay. On page 4 of the check register, there's a, I'm sorry, page 3, excuse me, Highland Treatment. I see that the wastewater treatment routine checks for November. I was hoping that we were transitioning to our own in-house licensee being the one that was going to start doing the submissions. Is that not going to take place?
Not immediately. We need this certification from this individual to do them for a short period of time still.
Is that right? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I'll move the bills. I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the attorney bills.
I'll move the bills.
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of this evening's agenda.
I'll move the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? At this point, we will open the floor for public comment. Rules of conduct for public comment at council meetings. Members of the public may speak at a council meeting upon recognition of the mayor. Public comment may only occur during periods designated on the agenda for public comment or in a public hearing. A person may speak for up to 2 minutes during each of the 2 public comment periods on the agenda items or non-agenda items. Waivers of the time requirement may only be granted in discretion of the mayor, and waivers to speak at a time other than a designated comment period may only be granted by council. Any person wishing to make a presentation longer than 2 minutes or requiring audiovisual equipment is asked to contact the city clerk requesting to appear on a future agenda. A person may only address council from the podium. Only one person may occupy the podium at a time. All remarks are to be directed to the mayor and council. Speakers are not to engage in direct dialogue with other meeting attendees. Any person who violates the rules of conduct, disturbs the peace at the meeting, and/or interferes with the meeting may be warned, ordered to be seated, removed, and/or ticketed. This summarizes Council Resolution 04-18. Complete rules, including guidelines for considering waivers, are available in the City Council chambers from the City Clerk. Also, I would ask that it looks as if we may have several people that want to speak tonight. If you hear the timer go off, please, for everyone, wrap up your final thoughts, and if you have more to say, feel free to come up for the second public comment as well. At this point, please remember to state your name and address before you start speaking.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. My name is Tracy Pease. I have vested interest in this community because my in-laws live here, as well as own a business here. And my husband is also a community member. He also works here. The reason that I am here tonight, right, and I don't know Mary Parisian, but I am here as a woman, and I am here to stand with her. I would like to know, what kind of world do we live in where it is okay to verbally attack and disparage a woman? And what kind of community allows it? Mary Parisian, whether it was private or not, was verbally attacked and was violated by a member of this council. And what kind of women would say that the ethics board should not be involved because it is being weaponized? This is what an ethics board is for. And as I walked in here, I find it amazing that there are 6 people on this board. And I know that it was a 4-2 vote. And it was the only 2 women on this board that went ahead and said they opposed the ethics board going ahead and investigating. My question is this: what does it take? Does she need to be physically assaulted? Does she need to be sexually assaulted? She had a member of the city council looking in her windows like a dirty old man. This is outrageous. And then to go ahead and have him sit just 2 people away from her? Why does she have to put up with that? That is what I'd like to know. Why is she to be felt uncomfortable as she is serving her city? We just got done voting for an entire female slate. The governor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state. And here we are in city council allowing a woman to go ahead and be attacked. Now, I understand, all right, that things may have changed because we have a sitting president of the United States. All right, but this does not fly. This is wrong.
Thank you.
I'm taking the microphone out because I'm short. My name is Heather Briegel. I live at 56770 8 Mile Road. I technically don't live in South Lyon, but this is the community that I've been a part of for 17 years here. I'm here as a board member and representing Women's March Michigan. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time that I've had to come to council to show support for another fellow woman. I'm here today to show support for my good friend, Mary Parisian, who sits on council. The current actions of a currently sitting council member are disgusting and completely unacceptable. And after an incident that he was involved in earlier this year, he was ordered to go to diversity training. Clearly, as we found out, that didn't work. The behavior he's exhibited earlier this year continued, and has continued for years that we've just found out about, and it's escalated. And for him to be sitting on this council is disturbing, to say the least. The fact that there was any objection to an ethics investigation is awful. It should have been a unanimous vote no questions asked. When someone behaves in such an unethical way, you investigate it. This type of behavior is unacceptable, and if the council member who committed these acts can't understand that, or anyone sitting on council can't understand that, you shouldn't be in a position of leadership. Your job is to lead, and right now, none of you are leading by allowing him to still be sitting here. I've been here for 17 years, and one thing I know is that South Lyon prides itself on being a wholesome, down-to-earth community. And right now, you're anything but that. This violates that whole facade that South Lyon puts on. The behavior that is tolerated is downright wrong, and I urge council, I urge everyone on council to denounce this behavior and to speak out together and let the city and the state know that this type of behavior is not acceptable and it's not tolerated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rich Perry. I'm at 875 Westbrook Drive in South Lyon. Before I read my comments, I want to state that, I admire anyone who sits in a seat like yours or in a committee or a board. This volunteerism isn't always easy, so I really appreciate and respect those who step up and sit on these boards. The recent actions by Carl Richards and the dismissal of it by Maggie and Rose, where once again position the council is dysfunctional at best. The citizens of the city deserve people who are committed to the community and not to their personal objectives and or professional goals. How much longer should we put up with the farce that has been made of the council? Isn't it enough that Maggie has verbally bullied anyone and everyone that is not sided with her? This goes back far before council. Frankly, for me, I was just patiently waiting until Carl's term was up, thinking he could do little damage, but I was wrong. We have a sitting council member, Carl, who's been issued a PPO against another sitting council person for a year, yet Carl refused to resign. I think I could speak for most people around the community when in asking Carl again to seriously reconsider the request that Mayor Pelchat made and asking for your resignation. We have 2 council members who voted against submitting this issue to the Ethics Board, and the Ethics Board is there for a reason, and when you deter things or move things away from the Ethics Board, you have to question why that's happening. It may surprise some on the council that there are actually a few residents in the community who actually studied our Constitution. While we have a council person defending Carl's actions under protection of the First Amendment, while a person can say derogatory things about another person under the protection of the First Amendment, saying things that create an unsafe situation is not protected, and that's where Carl crossed the line, in addition to his surveillance work, and that's where Maggie needs to revisit her protection of Carl. Further, the PPO that was issued by the court system because of Carl's peeping Tom activity, Maggie has often invoked sexism in the past, criticizing her opponents. But when one of her allies is guilty of it against an opponent, she defends him. It seems Maggie's only interested in standing up for women if they think they're on her side. And I encourage everyone to continue to ask for Carl's resignation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Bridget McDowell. I live in Green Oak Township. I have a South Lyon mailing address. I have never met Marion. As a council member, Carl Richards is an embarrassment to our community and should resign his position on the city council. He started the year with wildly inappropriate questions of several qualified women to fill a vacant position on city council, and he's ended the year under a PPO. Between these bookends to his first year in public office, Mr. Richard has used his pulpit at worst to showcase his ignorance of issues directly related to his position, at best to ramble on about tangential topics. The Oakland Press even mentioned this choice to discuss seemingly irrelevant topics at the conclusion of the last city council meeting, instead of talking about why he was made to sit in the back of the room. I want to remind the city council, the mayor, and everyone in the South Lyon area of what the issue actually is facing the city council and the ethics board. It's not about whether or not Mrs. Parisian's fear for her safety is justified. That was confirmed by the judge who issued a PPO. It's not about whether city council members enjoy acting like drama queens, as many of their constituents repeatedly state on social media. It's not about the First Amendment, as Mr. Perry just outlined, and regrettably, it's not even about Mr. Richards' gross incompetence as a council member. The issue is whether Mr. Richards' behavior is suitable and tolerable as a member of City Council. His behavior is questionable for a regular citizen and wildly inappropriate as an elected official. Mr. Richards is supposed to apologize tonight. I suspect that he'll say he's sorry people feel a certain way, and he'll offer excuses rather than take any ownership for his conduct. And that's because he can't give a sincere, heartfelt apology. Because his pattern of behavior against showing disrespect towards women that he chooses to continue, even after training mandated by his last embarrassment. As I said, I don't live within the city limits. I can't vote for any of you, even though your actions represent the greater community that I call home. However, I can volunteer, and to whomever's listening, I will knock on doors with you, and I will make phone calls, and I will do whatever you want so that we can recall Carl Richards. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. My name is Joyce Cloesy. I've been here before. I'm here to address the council, City Council and Councilmember Parisian specifically. Councilmember Parisian has referenced me in regard to her current accusations as quoted in the press, and I know a couple other people here have as well. I'm here requesting she not reference me by name or otherwise, my prior civil rights complaint against the South Lyon City Council, nor use it to bolster or substantiate any part of her current claim. I have no support or criticism of her current claim. I just have no firsthand knowledge of it whatsoever, besides what I've read in the paper. So I don't want to be lumped in with something that I don't know about. Councilmember Parisian was party to the complaint as a member of the council and voiced nothing positive about me at that time, nor was she supportive of me then or ever. She has called me a liar at a recorded meeting. During the interview in which she references the inappropriate questions, she did not stop them, nor seemed outraged by them as she does now, that we're referencing these events. Councilmember Parisian FOIA'd me to the South Lyon Police and had a criminal background check conducted on me via Clemis, and only me and no other candidate prior to the interview. While I have no criminal history, she now knows many of my family members' names, addresses, and every location I've locked my keys in my car, from Royal Oak to South Lyon, and about a not-at-fault traffic accident I was in. This was not authorized by me, nor was I informed of it prior or ever. She also discussed and shared it with another member of council via email. I only discovered this via FOIA after the fact. I find that extremely creepy and stalkerish, as does my family. I am certain, had she found anything of substance, she would have used it to her advantage, as she is now using my MDCR complaint. I would like to remind her I was a private citizen then, as I am now, and again request she, an elected official and licensed attorney, cease to reference me and do no further research on me, my family, properties, or reference me in any way or use the police to do so.
Thank you.
My name is Denise Karth. I live at 716 Grand Court in South Lyon. I am not a political person. This is the first time I've ever attended a meeting, and I hope it will be my last, because I am grossly offended by Councilwoman Parisian, because she has directly, falsely accused my son of several incidences, which are taking bribes for Maggie and Joe Rizzi, which is absolutely false. He is a good-hearted person, and he tries very hard to give this city the best possible person he is. He has never done that. You falsely accused him in court, on stand, in front of a judge, that he was in sleepwalking on your property. That is grossly false. And you cannot state where that happened. And as a medical person, why were you not concerned of a South Lyon citizen and call the police or EMS, worrying about how his behavior was if that was him, which it was not. Because for one thing, he cannot walk from our home. We do not know where you live. He might know your address, but he does not stalk or go see where you live. The other thing is that you also have, if you were so terrified of Mr. Riches, why did you said this has been going on for quite some time, why did you allow him to be elected? Why do you continue to frequent the gas station that he goes to? Are you hoping that you're able to get him arrested because he's within your vicinity? That would be all the things I would worry about. Nor will we ever go to the bike station because we could end up being a PPO on us. You should be removed from council.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Casey Kopp. I live in Brookfield neighborhood, so I actually can vote. I'm here to stand with Mary Parisian. I went to school for 4 years at Michigan State. You know, it's tough when you got to introduce yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm from South Lyon, and damn near every story that comes out of South Lyon is negative, okay? And I'm back living here with my parents, and I'm just disgusted. Okay, it's 2018, and it is not Councilmember Parisian's job to avoid people that harass her. It is her job to be a council member, and it is the job of the council and men and women to stand with those who are harassed. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's in a conversation in private, in the home, in a restaurant. It doesn't matter if it's here in the council. It is not acceptable for anyone in a position of power to harass women. That's the bottom line. There's really no other way around it. And I want those who oppose an investigation, an ethics investigation, to know that we are not going to forget about you. We actually care about municipal elections now. And anyone who opposes or anyone who does not stand with Councilmember Parisian, you know, we're going to remember you come ballot time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we will close public comment and move on to the discussion of downtown. Mr. Donahue?
Hello, everybody. All right, copies were provided of the new downtown business directory. Those have been distributed throughout the downtown area and still have more to be distributed. We've printed 5,000 of those, and we hope to keep supplying people as they run out. It's the second edition. We've had many eyes checking it this time to make sure we get it right. So I think it's a good project. The Veterans Memorial fundraising has started. Actually, we're going to have a formal launch for the Veterans Memorial fundraising in January. As you recall, we've had approvals by Council, VFW, Parks and Rec Commission, Historical Society, and Planning Commission. And we've been getting more landscape plans and more in-kind services donated. So looking forward to the formal conclusion of fundraising. And actually, we would like to see construction next summer. The Paul Baker Park has had some lighting improvements. We've had a couple calls, well, actually several calls from the public, and we've responded. And I think if you go by Paul Baker Park, it looks a lot better. So, and it should be. I think the improvements to our community's image, it's very important, and that's a key entry to our community. We began preparations of the DDA budget. We're going to have discussions with our new city manager in the next few days. The Downtown Development Authority's annual goals and objectives meeting. At their meeting this Thursday, we'll pick a date in February because we'll be talking about our priorities for new projects. That list of projects was in the annual report that we received. And we are excited that we will have additional funding because the last payment on the Wells Street parking lot is in May out of the current fiscal year budget. So we'll have $35,000 for priority projects that we didn't have the previous year. That's all I have.
Does anyone have anything for Bob?
I think you're right. This is a great working tool, and it looks terrific. So,
thank you.
The director, yeah, it's terrific.
Yeah, it looks better than it's ever looked.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Just want to let you know, I absolutely love the red, white, and blue in Baker Park. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and just commented on it. I said, I had nothing to do with it. I'm sure Bob Donahue did. So I wanted to pass off all the compliments. So,
well, thank you. I'd like to also say that Paul was instrumental in Judy Piper, actually. We sat out one night and froze our fingers off, and we got it done. So,
well, if you called me, I would have helped you.
But they need thanks too. But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
We'll move on to new business number 1 this evening. 2019-2020 city budget. The recommendation for this is to direct the city manager to forward on the information and take it into consideration when preparing the 2019-20 budget.
Mayor, I just wanted to brief you as well as the public regarding the budget. We're in the beginning processes of this. I asked council members to provide me some information based upon their requests and goals for the upcoming year. We'll be reviewing those goals with the department heads over the next couple of weeks. We already have a couple of meetings scheduled with some of the department heads. We're going to be reviewing equipment needs, items that were discussed in the budget, and ensure that the department budgets overall match as far as what council's intentions actually are. We'll be meeting with the department heads over the next 2 weeks. Preliminary budget will actually be submitted no later than February 15th and compiled by the staff. First budget, preliminary budget will be submitted to council the week of March 11th through the 15th. The first budget workshop with council will be March 18th through the 22nd. The second budget workshop will be week of April 15th through 19th, and City Council will approve the budget no later than the second meeting in May, which was listed on there as May 27th, but it's actually May 28th because it actually is a Tuesday. What I ask for tonight is the council course of action to review the goals and objectives. You can have discussion regarding this tonight, ask questions of each other about some comments regarding what was submitted, or questions of me or even some of the department heads that are actually here. So it is just a recommendation of moving forward with this and preparing the 2019 and 20 budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Kibble.
Well, no questions, but I just wanted to make the comment that my hope is that you're going to do your visit with all the departments, get that all squared up, determine how much road work we can accomplish. That's been very behind the 8 ball, and then some of these things start prioritizing some of the list here that can squeeze in under the budget. So.
And that's correct. And I wasn't all inclusive about everything and all the meetings that we'll have, because we'll also be meeting with some of our consultants, specifically our engineers regarding roads, infrastructure, and things like that, to based upon what could potentially be done within the upcoming year.
I'm really enjoying the fact that everything is already kind of slated time-wise. It was kind of mysterious the last 4 years. So, thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Paul, I'd like to compliment you on what you put together so far, and I like the fact that there's duplication from the list some of the council members have provided. In particular, the focus on perhaps doing something with the abandoned house that sits in McCaddy Park as an example. Likewise, based on the discussions you and I have had, while some of these are good goals and things to look forward to incorporating and addressing within the city, obviously you've got to address things in the proper sequence. We certainly don't want to put in a new parking lot only to find out that later on that's where our ground storage tank has to go, and we turn around and have to take that parking lot back out. So again, once you have all of the details here in the package, and you get the feedback from the other department heads, that'll help put things more in a sequential manner here, so we can better decide what's going to happen first, second, third, and so forth. But this is excellent, and I like the timeline that you provided. I think that's extremely helpful as far as being able to budget our time when we expect to have the workshops to go over those lists and make some prioritization as far as what gets done first and what has to be defrayed to a following year, perhaps. So I think it's a great job.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Walton.
I agree, Mr. Kennedy. I had the same thoughts as I went through this, that I really liked that there was a lot of duplication, and certainly shows that several people here want to make some great positive changes for our city, and it looks like we're going to move forward in the next year with our budget and planning and getting it done early so that we can get on top of these things, which is great. So looking forward to it.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
I'd like to commend you also, Paul. I think that I have spent just an inordinate amount of time on budgeting issues since I've been on council. And I'm very, very pleased to find out that this is the first time, I think, in 2 years that the city has not received a notice from the state of Michigan stating that our expenditures were exceeding our revenues. The city has not had a real good track record of the budgeting process. They've kind of lived from year to year. And I think the reason we did well with the budget last winter was because there were some individuals, including Plant Moran, that sat on this budget almost 30 hours a week. I mean, people were working that hard to get this budget in line. One of the things, and one of the criticisms that I have had of this budget, which I have not voted for yet since I've been on council, is the inability to forecast and plan. As an economist, I am, in addition to being a lawyer, I'm also an economist, is that you look to the future. You have to have that future planning in place. We all understand the business cycle. We all understand this. But that has been a serious flaw in city planning, has been the ability to extend out into the second year, the third year, the fourth year, and we do not have any capital improvement planning. So hopefully those issues are beginning to resolve themselves, because now it appears that what you're doing is you are coming early to council and you are now saying, let's start this budget process a lot sooner than what's been done in the past. And I think Lyon Township may be going on an advanced planning. I think they're starting their budget early. Well, they've got more money and I think, more things to do, but I think their process is moving up the timetable too. So I think we will reap the benefits of moving this timetable and planning up. And I just want to encourage to stay on this budget until it gets approved sometime in May. It's not something that we just work on today, forget about it tomorrow. I mean, we really, and I know you're staying on it, but I think you're doing a good job, and this is a fabulous, fabulous start. Fabulous start. I mean, this tells me that you're beginning to think ahead. You're getting us in the mode of saying budget, budget, budget. And that's what it should be. So thank you, Paul.
Councilmember Parisian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion to forward on this information and take it into consideration when preparing the 2019 and 2020 budget.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. New business number 2 this evening, consider canceling the December 26th City Council meeting. Recommendation is cancel the City Council meeting scheduled for December 26, 2018. Councilmember Walton.
I'd like to make the motion to cancel the city council meeting scheduled for December 26, 2018.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yep, certainly. Councilmember Kivel.
I don't have any misgiving with doing that, but I do want the caveat that in the event that something of an emergency nature took place, that we would always be willing to meet on the day that would be best suited for taking care of that business.
Certainly. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
I just wanted to state I may be out of state during that period of time, but whatever.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. move on to the budget this evening. Do we have anything for the budget tonight? Councilmember Kurtzwell?
Yes, I did have one thing on the budget. Wanted to let Paul know that when I was working on the budget, one of the things that came up was contingent liabilities that the city had. Those contingent liabilities included unpaid vacation pay. We got in the city budget this year the dollar amounts. I believe Lori went out and asked the employees, how much they had in terms of unpaid vacation time. Here's the problem with unpaid vacation pay. It has a problem to assist in terms of what's called pension spiking, and I've done a lot of research on that, provided counsel with a lot of articles on pension spiking, and that is one of the vehicles that is used for pension spiking, is the unpaid vacation pays that are paid when somebody is getting ready to retire, because what it does is it adds to the dollar amount of the actual pension. And the whole point of putting the unpaid vacation monies in the budget was to make sure that in this budget cycle, those unpaid vacations are paid out this year. So the chief will be paid out this year because he's planning on retiring. And so his will be paid out. But I think there's another employee out there with about $10,000. Here's the problem when you allow those, when you don't pay out those vacation pays, is that you have an employee that begins in year one at, let's say, a pay rate of $20. And then what happens, the employee stays on for 30 years and retires from the city, let's say, at a pay rate of $80 an hour. So the city has not been good at tracking how that vacation pay should be paid out. Do you pay that unused vacation based on the $20 back when they started, or do you accumulate all that money, which the practice appears to be now with the city? Do you accumulate all that unused vacation pay, regardless of the year it was earned, and pay it out at the highest pay rate? So cities now are beginning to get savvy to the unpaid vacation pay. It's in our budget, and I would ask that the individual, I don't know who it is, but there's a city employee out there with roughly $10,000 and probably has another 8 years to go or whatever in the city, that we move forward and get that vacation pay paid out, because you can no longer roll over the vacation pay and get paid for it. So that's a policy that City Council has already enacted. So that's in the budget. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Anyone else with anything on the budget this evening? All right, we'll move on to the manager's report. Paul?
I want to update council regarding the inspections of the Bonner properties. The purpose was the inspection was to identify life safety and dangerous building conditions. We received a report that last week. I provided those items to council as what was done with the inspections. We will be reviewing those with our ordinance enforcement as well as building officials to ensure that those buildings are maintained. We'll develop a course of action to identify as far as if certain utilities still need to be taken offline, but we want to make sure those buildings remain safe for not only individuals who may be entering those buildings, but also people who may be walking by some of those buildings. When I identify as far as a cool Yule, we compliment everybody on the great event. Fortunately, we had a little bit of bad weather during that particular day, but a big thank you for the staff, Bob Donahue, the DPW, and all the volunteers for getting the lights and decorations around town. People drive through town now, they see the lights on. When people go home at night, as well as when they're leaving for work in the morning. I think everything looks great. It's a very festive look we have in the town as well as the within the village, and the Heineken tree, which was a spectacle in itself. It was an awesome event to attend, and I think people are really looking forward to it, and it's become a destination point now for people to see within the community. I want to mention also, I brought up at a prior meeting that Bob Donahue and I will be meeting with individuals from Michigan Seamless Tube this week, and I'll be reporting back to council at a later date about that. I'll be having meetings with members of the police department in the anticipation of hiring the new chief. Later this month, I'll be advising city council as my preference on how we're going to move forward with that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Kurtzwell?
I would like to discuss the email that you sent out on Friday, December 7th. I think there's some important information that needs to get out to the public, and we need to be accurate with information that we provide to the public. And when we gain information, I think we have an obligation to relay it to the public to correct any misconceptions or any falsities that are out there. I think that's your role with respect to government. The South Lyon Police Department has been taking a horrible hit. It's a public relations nightmare out there. And I've been hearing a lot, spoke with the chief of police on Friday. Spoke with the city manager on Friday and conveyed what was going on. So I just want to start clearing the air and asking those with an acid tongue. You are free to say what you want, but please make sure you have your information correct before you start accusing the South Lyon Police Department of anything, including corruption. On November 26th, City Council Member Parisian stated at a meeting, she stated on the video, that the South Lyon Police Department had investigated, but due to a conflict of interest, this matter was being pursued by the Oakland County Sheriff. Many people in the community that saw that tape became a little bit outraged. And they became outraged at the South Lyon Police Department because they said, well, it's a little strange that the South Lyon Police Department would conduct an investigation, come to a conclusion, and then declare they had a conflict of interest. What's going on here? So you can naturally see why people were beginning to question the credibility of the South Lyon Police Department. Because nobody could understand why didn't you declare the conflict of interest at the beginning of the investigation and then pass it off to the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. Then you had Councilman Kivel engage in a conversation with Parisian regarding the matter going from the Oakland County Sheriff to the Special Investigative Unit. So people started asking questions, people started making phone calls, and apparently on November 27th, the day after the City Council meeting, Chief Collins contacted the undersheriff up in Oakland. And I think he probably just said, I don't know for sure, but I think he probably inquired, why are you taking over my investigation? Did that happen? I think it did. I spoke with the undersheriff today, and he filled me in, not completely, but he filled me in on a little bit of a timeline. So we know that on November 27th, Chief Collins learned that there was no investigation with the Oakland County Sheriff, and there was nothing with the Special Investigative Unit. Then we know that there was a conversation at some point with the undersheriff and Mary Parisian. Mary Parisian was told by the undersheriff that he had...
Mayor.
No, this goes to the email.
Order, sir.
What's your point of order, Councilmember Kivel?
This is the manager's report and a
pertains-
question associated with the manager's report, not a testimonial.
This pertains to the email, Mr. Mayor. I think you need to clear the air on this.
Hear me out. Councilmember Kurtzwell, do you feel like this would be more appropriate to be stated during your council comments?
Well, I can do that, but I've started, and it pertains to an email that we all received on Friday.
I know, but a lot of us don't have it here. I actually just tried to check my phone to see if I had it too, and I do not.
It pertains to what happened, because I have some questions to ask of the city manager.
I could just ask, is this because he hasn't comprehensively covered everything that you've conjured up?
These are facts.
In the email?
These are facts. I'm not attacking the city manager or the police department. I'm defending.
No, you're not doing anything with the city manager. You're simply talking.
Folks,
let me finish.
let's keep some.
I'll move
We
through
got
it.
an ETA on it?
Pardon?
How, do you have much farther to go?
No, I just have a little bit more to go. So I spoke with the undersheriff, and he explained to me that he did speak with Parisian. He did tell her that the Oakland County Sheriff was not handling this problem, and that he had reviewed the South Lyon Police Department report on this matter and found the South Lyon Police Department very, very thorough. So I wanted to pass that along, Chief. The undersheriff stands with you on this particular issue, but we do know that the information that was conveyed at the City Council meeting was not true, it was not accurate, and at some point, Mary Parisian learned that the information that was stated at that council meeting was untrue. We also know that her lawyer made a statement at the PPO hearing that we're waiting for the transcripts on, that may have misrepresented to the judge the status of this file with the Oakland County Sheriff. So I want to thank the city manager because he came out and stated there was no conflict of interest. That was a complete falsity that was being promoted. And South Lyon Police Department did not refer this matter to the Oakland County Sheriff. As of tonight, it does not stand with the Oakland County Sheriff. What the Oakland County Sheriff did, I have a copy of their email, I'll put it in the minutes. The Oakland County Sheriff sent out an email on November 29th and said numerous news media outlets, including many in the print media, are reporting that we are investigating the matter that the South Lyon Police Department has already investigated. These reports are not true. So the undersheriff came out, almost 2 pages of people, including the FBI, including the Michigan State Police, are on copy that statements advanced by Ms. Parisian at that meeting on November 26th were not true and were not accurate. That's a very important thing to get out. When you gain information that something is not true.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, you've made your point. Do you have any other information you'd like to share?
No, but I would like to thank the city manager for his due diligence on this.
May I ask a quick question?
Hold one moment, please. Chief Collins, do you have anything to add to that?
Not unless the mayor or council would have a specific question.
I have a specific question.
Okay. Councilmember Parisian, go ahead.
Can you give us the status of, does Oakland County have this matter?
Well, we have to be clear as to whether we're speaking of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office or the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office.
Does Oakland County Prosecutor have this matter?
The Oakland County Prosecutor has this matter for warrant consideration.
Thank you. So at that point, I think it's important, if we're going to say truths here, we should look at the facts as a whole, not just what we tunnel vision want to see. We should look at everything. So I believe Councilwoman Kurtzwell has failed to mention the fact that Oakland County Prosecutor does have this, and it's in the email that she's holding in her hand. But she failed to tell you that.
No,
so
it's not.
I think it's important that we know that the the chief of police, as well as the city manager, authorized it to go to the Oakland County Prosecutor for a further look at. Additionally, I did speak with Under Sheriff McCabe, and I was also told that this matter was being investigated by the sheriff. So at that point in time, I let everyone know, hey, it's in the hands. I've sent in the paperwork. Someone's looking at this. I spoke with a detective, and this is where we're at. So on November 26th, absolutely, I was very much of that mindset. I received a phone call on November 27th, and otherwise, that's what changed the pace here. Was I was informed on November 27th that Oakland County Sheriff will not be moving forward with it unless they get the authorization from the city manager as well as the chief of police. And so they took it in front of their own hands, and they authorized it to go through the Oakland County Prosecutor. So again, Councilwoman Kurtzwell, I think you're looking at it from a perspective of what's the best way we can get Mary? What's the best way that we can make her poke holes in her case and show that she's a liar? But you're not looking at the whole facts. Under Sheriff McCabe did speak with me on November 27th and did indicate, hey, South Lyon PD did a great job with the investigation. If we're going to look into it further, can you let the city manager or the chief of police authorize that? I reached out via email, and they authorized it, so now it's in the prosecutor's hands with Oakland County. So no, we did go from the Oakland County Sheriff to the Oakland County Prosecutor to move on to see if this is behavior that warrants an investigation further. The judge with Oakland County Circuit Court ruled in my favor, indicating that the behavior that Carl Richards had exhibited was uncalled for. You have a legally blind man who can tell the bedroom furniture of my home, which is not visible from the street because it's in the back of the house. So a court looked at it much differently than the South Lyon Police Department and our local prosecutor. But again, this is information that you're failing to mention because we want to see the skewed version of how we can poke holes in Mary's case.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you.
Quickly, let's
try very quickly.
Thank
but
you.
But it's important because I spoke with the city manager on Friday, and apparently the file was not referred to the county prosecutor until December 5th. Is that around December 5th the file went out?
I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday of last week.
So that would have been December 4th or December 5th, which is way beyond her assertions on November 26th. So she now has stated that she spoke with the undersheriff. The undersheriff told her that the South Lyon Police Department did a good thing. She knew as of November 27th, and I will call Mr. Undersheriff McCabe tomorrow and ask him to review the tape and confirm that the statements being made by Ms. Parisian are accurate. I'm sure he has phone logs and probably took notes of those conversations. So the point is inaccurate information was provided. I think it goes to her credibility, as it has in the past, and it's a pretty serious thing. Pretty serious thing when you don't even know where your file is, but yet you'll say at a meeting where it is. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will open up for our second public comment this evening. Please remember to state your name and address. We will close our second public comment of the evening and move on to council comments. Councilmember Richards, I would ask that you start us off this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All council members and audience. At this time, I wish to restate my apology to Mrs. Parisian, as I did in Oakland County Circuit Court on November 26th. This also includes the rest of this council and the administration personnel of our city. The departments and commissioners and employees, all inclusive, for the confusion and division caused solely by myself without excuse over the incident that occurred on October 31st at a location uptown. In summation, it is my sincere hope that we can put this unfortunate set of events behind us and move on with our attention to matters of necessary to the city business that regularly come before this body. Thank you very much.
Did you have any council
comments?
Yes,
now move into council comments. Several. Okay. Oh, most importantly, people, I wish Bob and Paul greatest success tomorrow or the next day, whatever you're going to do with this meeting with the tube mill coming up. I've worked for years on this, and it all started back when Murphy was manager. I won't go into the details, but I hope you guys can come up with a green lights on all four bases. Okay. I just want to make a quick comment about the 135 East Lake Street. Mr. Bonner was in the back row. Most people probably don't know who he is, but I recognized him. This was a report that was given to us regarding 135 Lake Street, also 113 over there. It's mostly pictures, and there's 17 points in here of to be addressed as correction for fire ordinance and building code. And I hope this is moving forward. I know Mr. Bonners wants to sell the property, okay? And this is a milestone. It's the first time we've done this and got this. And I hope it all works out positively for all of us. Okay, just a property change that I wanted to mention to you. Our Witch's Hat brewery, as the property has recently been sold, the Balo Group sold to the ownership of the brewery. And I've never been in the brewery, to be exact, but I wish them all the best of luck. They're a going business. They bring a lot of people and a lot of money into this town, and they certainly have made an impact. Okay, I want to call something to your attention. In our referendum here that we had for future budgetary questions that we all submitted, there's one in there about a water matching fund for the WRC. I won't go into the details, but I want to mention that our manager came from the beautiful town of Linden, where if you've ever been through Linden and seen their waterworks, it was planned years ago in advance, and it's absolutely beautiful as far as I'm concerned in the town of Linden. And that didn't happen by accident. In Oakland County, that's in Genesee, I believe, you got what happened in 1970 here. Jim Pelkey was building the idea of building Colonial Acres, what it is today. He put up $50,000 with the Oakland County Drain Commission, today called WRC, to start a matching fund. And if you drive through it and look at their waterworks, you can see it's very well planned and engineered. And if we ever want to have anything like that on Yerkes Drain, or we feel a need to, that's why I submitted that plan. I think it'd be a good idea. Anyway, that's just one item. Okay. Regarding, I just got to say this is the last meeting of the year. Thank you so much to DPW and our water department for all the things they've done over this year, holding this city together under stress when we've had top management problems, equipment problems, breakdowns, sidewalks sinking, okay, emergency repairs and everything. And they've held this city together in some very, very difficult times. And thank them ever so much. We can't thank them enough. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Richards. Councilmember Parisian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a few things that I would like to address tonight. First and foremost, Councilman Richards, your apology to me is not heartfelt. It doesn't, I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. So the other part of this is the only apology I'm willing to accept is your resignation. That is the only apology I'm willing to accept, especially after everything that's happened and the amount of pain that you've caused myself and my family. Moving on from that, I can only imagine that the council comments from here are going to take a downturn. And I want to get above that and just let you know the facts of what's been happening. So I was alerted by two business owners, or by a business owner and his employee, of Councilman Richards looking in my windows. I didn't know. I had no idea. It was a business owner and his employees who came to me and said, hey, you have a problem and you need to look into it. So it's not like I'm fabricating some story and trying to get some publicity from this. In fact, this is not what I asked for. I never asked for any of this. I'm really creeped out by it. That's why I got the PPO to protect myself, my family, my house. There's a man who says he is legally blind and that he knows the bedroom furniture of my house when the bedrooms are in the back of my home. I can't even see it. I'm 44 years younger than Carl Richards, and I can't see the furniture from the sidewalk of my house. So how does Carl Richards see it? Who's legally blind, supposedly. This information was provided to the South Lyon Police Department. I believe there is a conflict of interest. I believe that when you have two council members who are sitting on the same council and making decisions for the South Lyon Police Department, their budget, whatever it might be. I see a conflict there. And that was the information that I had relayed to the Oakland County Sheriff. And I was told that we were going to look into this. This is an investigation. I spoke with a detective there. And as of November 27th, the day after the meeting, that's when things moved forward into a different direction, which I was then notified the city manager or the chief of police has to then authorize it from there, get authorization from them, which is what I did. And now it's in the hands of the Oakland County prosecutor. Those are the facts. Those are not fabrications. So absolutely speak with Under Sheriff McCabe. I think that's going to help you. Additionally, I think it's important to point out that it is incredibly difficult for people to come out and speak about any harassment, be it a man, be it a woman, if they were accosted sexually, whatever it might be. So most people sit and suffer in silence, and I thought it was my job as a city official to tell you, hey, you have somebody sitting on your council who's looking in windows. Is it made up? Absolutely not, because I have a personal protection order. Let's read what it says, because those are the facts. The court finds repeated and continued harassment of the petitioner. Carl Richards is prohibited from stalking as defined by state law. These are facts. This is a court order. So no, I'm not going to be quiet about it. I'm sure that's what you would like. However, there are people every day who suffer in silence. It's important for you, the community, to be aware of who sits on your council, who you elected. And yeah, you should pull FOIA requests. Ms. Klohosi was here earlier. It's unfortunate she didn't stay, but she was talking about how a FOIA request, she wasn't given consent. You don't need consent to pull a FOIA. You should pull a FOIA. It's important. It's important to see who you're voting for. It's important to see what's going on. If you have information like that, that's all public information. You can move forward and make an educated decision. And that's not just for politics, it's for every aspect of your life. Aside from that, I also wanted to address Mr. Lair, Mrs. Lair. I believe the judge specifically told Ryan Lair, you are not allowed to act as Carl's proxy. And I believe making up stories that are absurd as you sleepwalking to my house could be misconstrued as that. If you could show me or any kind of proof, evidence at all where that was ever said, I would love to see that information. But coming up to the microphone and just spewing that with no foundation whatsoever, I don't understand it. I don't understand the hate. I don't get where it comes from. I'm not seeing it. I don't see why it's necessary. I personally don't care enough about you to include you into this. I know you want to be included for some reason. I don't know why anybody would, but I would encourage you to stay out of it. No one's making up stories about you. No one cares that much. Move on. And lastly, I want to say thank you. I want to thank you to everybody who came out tonight to say votes of support. I really appreciate that. You have no idea how much that means to me. It has been a trying 8 weeks. And again, I've done what I needed to do to protect myself. I got a PPO. The judge looked at Councilman Richards' behavior, looked at his statements. He admits to looking in my windows. And the judge found that astonishing. And you know who else found it astonishing? The gentleman who was working in the store that day. The gentleman actually was so astonished, he asked Carl Richards, "And did you just tell me that you went up and looked through her windows?" And Carl Richards smiled, nodded, and laughingly said, "Yeah." Please note, it was only after the fact that the South Lyon Police Department told Carl that his behavior was in question, that he took a step back and said, no, I was on the sidewalk. It was only after the fact that the police got involved where he stepped back and said that. So there's a series of information out there that Maggie will try to twist, Rose I'm sure will try to twist, Ryan Lair, whoever it might be, but please stick to the facts. With that, have a good night.
Thank you, Councilmember Parisian. Councilmember Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'm not trying to twist any facts. I have nothing to say about the facts. That's not my job. I stand with the South Lyon PD who did their investigation, and they did an excellent job as far as I'm concerned. So that's all I have to say about it. I hope everyone has a great holiday season, and we'll see you back in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Walton. Councilmember Kennedy.
Just want to compliment the folks that were involved in the Cool Yule celebration. As was already mentioned, the weather left a bit to be desired, but it did hold off. I know that my grandkids had a great time at it, and so did a lot of other people. And the Jeff Heinen certainly, I think, turned out the whole town for the lighting of the tree. And it was a great time, and I'm sure it's just going to get better as time goes on. I'd also like to compliment our city manager, Paul Zelnick. I passed along some information to Paul as the city's SEMCOG representative. I sent him an email, and he took up on it to attend a session today where we looked at some possible transportation alternatives and some potential funding for those things. So it's a couple of things down the road that we might receive some funding for as a result of Paul's actions in conjunction with SEMCOG. And lastly, I'd like to again compliment you, Paul, on the putting together the timeline for the budget preparation. I think that's extremely helpful as far as being able to project when we're going to be where we need to be and when we can detect we're not where we should be and make corrective actions as required. So again, I appreciate your effort on that. Again, everyone else, please have a great holiday, and we'll see you next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you. First of all, everybody knows that I'm a pretty strong advocate of women. I'm a conservative feminist, so I don't fit the liberal agenda, but I'm a conservative feminist. And a conservative feminist is an individual that looks at the rights of all people, whether you are a man or whether you are a woman. We are not result-oriented, we are fact-oriented. And for the individuals that came in here and did not like the fact that two of us did not vote to take this to the Board of Ethics, I think you need to go back and listen to the reasons why. The reasons were not that I didn't think it shouldn't go to the Board of Ethics. It was that I didn't have enough information in front of me at that time to make that decision. I'm an attorney. I look at the facts. I had nothing in front of me except allegations going back and forth between two council members. So it was very inaccurate and quite false for people to make judgments that certain council members weren't supporting this going to the Board of Ethics. I was very clear when I said he has the right to say whatever he wants to say in his own free time, whatever he wants to say. I don't care what he says. But his conduct was another issue. So for those that either for whatever reason you did not want to listen to the tape, you didn't want to hear the tape, that's fitting your agenda. My agenda is not your agenda. My responsibility on this council, as I see it, is to respect the rights of all people, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. And if you're a guy and you're out there and you're getting charged and you have a PPO entered against you, and there are already signs that the dominoes are beginning to fall because false information was provided and statements were made on November 26th regarding where this matter was, that becomes a problem because everything else that you do from then on is going to be questioned. And I'm not going to allow anybody in this city to be falsely accused of something in which there is no crime. Was it vulgar? Yes. Was it filthy? Probably. But the South Lyon Police Department gave their opinion and said there was no criminal conduct. And Chief, here is the reason why people are attacking the police department. And it's not your fault. The average person that's sitting out there in the audience tonight, you get one shot at an investigation. File it with the police department, they come out with a decision, and you're done. You have a council member that's getting a second bite at the apple. No other citizen in this city would ever be afforded a second bite at the apple. What she's doing is she's venue shopping. She's shopping to get the answer she wants, not the answer that fits the facts. Something wrong with that level of justice. Some of you may think it's okay because you are agenda driven. But when I see people shopping and looking for a result, you're not happy with the decision the police department made, every guy out there in that community tonight, you better be worried. Because the message being delivered tonight is that if you're on council, there will be one level of justice for you, and there'll be another level of justice for everybody else. Next, I'd like to discuss the issues with respect to asking people to resign. And here's my issue on that. This is not Venezuela. This isn't Russia. You don't like who's sitting up here on council? Then go out there and do a recall. Go out there and vote for other people. But you don't come and say, I want you to resign because I don't like you up here. We don't unelect people. This is not what we do in a democracy. Get out there and do a recall. Let the voters make the decision. And it's very important to note that there were 3 people that voted for no closed meeting. All of you that are exercising your First Amendment tonight, including the gentleman in the red shirt laughing, which is the First Amendment expression, you have your right tonight because 3 people said, we will not allow this to go to a closed meeting and hide this. We're going to bring it out. We're going to let the public see who this individual is and go forward. Look at the people who wanted to hide this from you. The 4 down there. It was these 3 here that said, let's face the facts, hold Carl accountable, and get it out. I don't think anybody could be more transparent than the 3 of us who voted. I'm not agreeing with Carl's conduct, but I agree with his decision to open this up and give all of you an opportunity to say what you wanted to say at that microphone tonight. If that meeting had gone to a closed meeting, by law, I would not have been able to discuss anything that came out in it. You would know nothing. So, for the First Amendment, I stand by it. I may not agree with what you say, but I will go to my death defending what you have to say. Next, I'd like to say Merry Christmas to everybody on those notes. I'd like to say we have some great decorations that are out there. I'd like to say that we have a fabulous subdivision called Hidden Creek. It's on 9 Mile and Dixboro. And if you drive through, it's absolutely phenomenal. I would like to thank all the neighbors and all the people that live in Hidden Creek for their time that they spent freely, going out, buying the lights. They've made a great opportunity for everybody to come out and see the lights in South Lyon. So with that, I'd like to thank all of my friends that are of the Jewish faith. I know Hanukkah came a little bit early this year, but anyway, I do want to extend a happy Hanukkah to all of those that are of the Jewish faith, and Merry Christmas to everybody else. So thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember Critchwell. Councilmember Kivel.
I'm not quite certain where to start. I think I'm going to start as a reflection of some of the comments that Maggie had made, simply because it's kind of pertinent to what she just got done saying. It's almost laughable, the idea of your comment of respecting the rights of all people. Sounds pretty hollow when you consider your history of just constantly assassinating, like character assassinations of whether it's businesses or people that didn't agree with you on a substantive issue and things. It just was laughable. I wanted to make a mention to, I'm sorry, what's your name, Mrs. Regal?
Regal.
Okay. You had made a comment asking why we hadn't kicked Carl off of the city council. Unfortunately, we might like to do that. Unfortunately, we conduct ourselves by the rule of law. So we're going to follow that process. The Board of Ethics is looking into whether there's a violation of our ethics ordinance. There's things are going through the courts right now, or the prosecution's office. So we're just being patient with the way that this thing rolls out, and we'll make our determinations from some of the information that we garnered from that. So it isn't as a matter of not caring or don't think that it's serious or any of that nature. It's simply there's a step-by-step process that we need to conduct ourselves as responsible government officials. So I wanted to thank Mr. Donahue in particular and Mr. Zelenak for their weighing in on beautifying the downtown. I mean, the steps that you guys took to end up helping to drive the bus to be much more specific about how the decorations were employed, it paid off in aces. I mean, it looks terrific downtown. Paul Baker Park looks as well groomed as I've ever seen it in the holiday season, so that's really been terrific. I did want to again thank the people that did Cool Yule. We did have some challenges by the potential bad weather, and yet, especially when it came time to light Heinenen's tree, downtown was swamped with people. So I was really proud of the fact that people were so taken by the scale of that project that they weren't going to pass up the opportunity to see that thing lit. We've had an awful lot of comments. Unfortunately, we had to kind of play in the mud a little bit longer than what I think anybody was hoping for, and that was part of the reason why we wanted to do the closed session last meeting, just to try to save the community from another black eye. The outcome will end up becoming the same outcome, whether that was done in a veiled way and then it was disclosed at when things had been determined, or whether we did everything out in the light of the public. So with that, though, I do want to end up making sure that everybody has my feeling that I'd love to see you all have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy downtown. Enjoy South Lyon. This is a wonderful community. We have trouble keeping our foot out of the mud on occasion, but everybody that lives here understands how weird it is that such a wonderful place ends up having these missteps. Hopefully we're at the end of that, and things are we'll be on a more positive trajectory from here. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kivel. I will keep this brief this evening. In regards to asking for Councilmember Richards' resignation, I got no joy out of that conversation. And it was after several days of digesting the information and what has taken place in this community over the past year that I felt it was in the best interest of this city and Councilmember Richards to step down. And I still feel that way. You want to talk about agendas? Let's talk about agendas that people run in this community and get people elected that probably have no business being up here. And they don't care about you, and they don't care about this community and what's right. Because what we're doing up here is what's right. And sometimes that's tough, and you're going to take some lumps. But the fact of the matter is there are people behind the scenes in this community that think it's their right to handpick people that sit up here. And they've done it for several years. Now, I'm not going to call these people out by name. That's not my job. But the paper trail is there. So, you want to talk about FOIAs? You want to talk about campaign finances? Look it up. I want to read something quickly that came into play in me asking for Councilmember Richards' resignation. And I think if you ask Councilmember Richards about that conversation, he would tell you that it was a very difficult conversation for both of us. And like I said, I did not enjoy that at all, and I did not take it lightly. But this is from the City Code, Chapter 2, Article 2, under City Council, Section 2-73, Responsibilities of Public Office and Employment. City officials and employees are agents of public purpose and hold office or employment for the benefit of the public. They are bound to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state and to carry out impartially the laws of the nation, state, and municipality, and thus to foster respect for all government. They are bound to observe in the performance of their official duties and actions the highest standards of morality and to discharge faithfully the duties of their office or employment regardless of personal considerations, recognizing that the public interest must be their primary concern. Their conduct, both in their official and private affairs, should be above reproach. All city officials and employees shall safeguard public confidence by being honest, fair, and respectful of all persons with whom they have contact, and in the performance of their official duties, and by avoiding conduct which may tend to undermine respect for city officials and employees and for the city as a public body. That was a tipping point for me. So, we'll see how this plays out. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. I want to thank all of our city employees for a great year. I hope to see you all at the holiday party tomorrow, and I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, all.